like, follow, subscribe, click the notification button. Join the Look Up TV movement now.
From the ticket to your next meal, to your ticket to the next holiday, it's an easy way to ask for a boost when you're low. And keeping track of everything on the go. The future of money is simple, and it's here. Download the new M-Pesa app today.
Now, Kenya has reached many milestones of democracy, multipartyism and the 2010 Constitution. We, however, ask the question, are we there yet? We do call ourselves a democratic nation. We'll be breaking that down because today is International Democracy Day. Also, we will be looking at the Kenya-Pakistan deal. Very soon, we could be exporting mangoes to Pakistan. We tell you why that is important for the mango farmers here in the country. This is Trending News. My name is Brian Amuai. But first, the highlights.
The news headlines in association with
Abby, your 24/7 digital personal banker. Another digital innovation that gets things done. That's Africanacity. That's ABSA.
On Trending News today, as the world celebrates International Day of Democracy, Kenya has reached many democratic milestones. Today we break down the journey and answer the question, are we there yet? Calling for truce. Catholic bishops calling for peace within the government, ready to offer mediation between President Uhuru Kenyatta and Deputy President William Ruto. Mitigating violent extremism among the youth. CEOs around the country now advocate for high-level affirmative action funds to alleviate terrorism. Now, remember, you can get in touch with us on our social media handles at Amuai Brand on Twitter, at LookUpTV. The hashtag is Trending News. You can also send us an SMS on 20374. We are also live on Facebook. Now, let's get started. Juliana Honge Cherera has been elected as the Independent Electorals and Boundaries Commission Vice Chairperson. In a notice earlier today, Chebukati said Cherera was elected unanimously yesterday in a meeting held at the Electoral Agency's boardroom. According to the IEBC boss, Cherera will deputize him and work closely with the chair to ensure commissioners are fully facilitated to perform their duties. Now, Cherera is among the 4 IEBC commissioners recently sworn in by the Chief Justice Martha Koome at the Supreme Court grounds in Nairobi. Now, moving on, the Independent Policing and Oversight Authority, IPOA Chairperson Anne Makori, has today said that the authority is pursuing at least 200 active cases of police abuses against civilians. Out of these, 98 cases are in court, while 148 cases are currently before the Director of Public Prosecution. Now, with various recommendations, David Kasembeli now reports.
Speaking in Nairobi during the Kenya Editors Guild Press Club lunch, Makori stated that the collaboration with the media has played a key role in enabling institutions achieve success in conviction. Notable cases successfully investigated by IPOA recently is the murder of Kianjokoma brothers in Embu, leading to the arrest and prosecution of the 6 police officers. However, Makori added that it is partly from the journalistic efforts that IPOA has ensured 13 successful convictions, has 98 cases before court with a further 148 cases before the DPP, besides having a further 3,022 investigation cases, and this underscores their determination to do work and their partial dependence on media reportage for successful investigations. According to the July-December performance report, IPOA received and processed 1,557 complaints, conducted 330 investigations, and inspected 142 police facilities. It also monitored 53 police operations during that period. The IPOA chairperson called on the media to support institutions in the campaign to realize police reforms in the country. Makori stated that they attribute most of their convictions because of the media, adding that most of the cases involve police misconduct. She further said that IPOA has set in place mechanisms for monitoring police operations and investigating complaints through the technical staff recruitment, capacity building, besides investment in ICT-related solutions over the last 2 years to ensure successful convictions. In regard to the upcoming elections, Makori stated that the authority has partnered with other state and non-state agencies involved in electioneering efforts to ensure a synergetic approach to the management of the 2022 elections. She added that the institution had set up a call center with a dedicated toll-free number, which is 1559, for registering complaints against police misconduct, and called on the media and members of the public to make use of the number for enhanced service. David Kasembeli, Lookup TV, Nairobi.
Now, thank you so much, David Kasembeli, for that. Now, moving on, Kenyans face tough economic times from today following a sharp rise in fuel prices that will drive up costs in almost all sectors. The Energy and Petroleum Regulatory Authority announced that pump prices for super petrol, diesel and kerosene would increase by 7 shillings and 58 cents, 7 shillings and 94 cents and 12 shillings and 97 cents per litre respectively. The steep rise in prices will see some motorists pay up to 137 per litre for super petrol, with the prices for the product being 134 shillings and 72 cents in Nairobi and 132 shillings and 46 cents in Mombasa. Now, EPRA has stated the jump in prices is due to the lifting of the stabilization fund, which had cushioned consumers from previous increases. This being an issue that directly affects day-to-day activities, rather. We went out to the streets, and this is what Kenyans had to say about that.
Na naishi hapa Kawangware 46 Musaraba. Sasa mimi mwenyewe ni conductor wa Metro Trans. Sasa sahi hata wewe unaona si yuko kazi. Juu ya venye mafuta imepanda, imebidi tupeleke gari parking. Juu sasa tukifanya kazi the whole day, unawekea mwenyewe pesa yake, na unaona venye corona bado imeaffect magari na sisi bado pia. Sasa imebidi mwenyewe tumwambia tutaweza kupata hizo pesa, juu hata tukiwa kazi mwenyewe hatupati pesa. Juu jioni gari ikikunywa mafuta, sisi tunabaki bila mshahara. Everybody is complaining about mafuta. Sasa sisi haijafikia pahali pa kupandisha fare. Sasa itabidi mpaka fare ipande ndio na sisi at least gari ikifika jioni ikikunywa mafuta tunapata kitu. Mimi ningependa kuambia Mr. President na wale wengine wenye wanahusika kwa mambo ya mafuta waangalie hiyo mambo, at least tupunguziwe mafuta na zile commodities zingine tunatumianga kwa nyumba hivyo.
Naitwa Stanley, mimi mkaji wa Kawangware na mimi ni dereva. Sasa kama mafuta bei iko juu, inamaanisha kila kitu, cost ya production, manufacturing, kila kitu bei itaenda juu. Na ukiangalia saa hizi economically tumekuwa affected na corona. Kuna cash flow mzuri, businesses bado zina struggle kuinuka, so hatuwezi afford tena kuwa na mafuta imepanda juu. Mimi ningependa kuambia hasa sana Uhuru Kenyatta azungumze na wenzake counterparts wake wanafanya nao kazi. Waangalie vile regulations wanaweza regulate hii maneno ya fluctuating ya hii prices za mafuta. Isipande kwa kiwango ya kuendelea kuaffect economy. Sababu sasa hata mkifanya bidii ya kuinua economy na bado vitu vingine kama mafuta hivi inaendelea kukaa juu, balancing inakuwa ni ngumu.
Naitwa Nyaskoko, naishi hapa Kawangware, Kongo area, na mimi ni dereva. Ongezewa kwa mafuta mimi naona itatuumiza sana, especially sisi watu wa matatu. Since hiyo ile kulingana venye gari inakunywa, kiongezewa hivyo, sisi naona tukikosa mshahara. Na sisi tunapatanga mshahara through mafuta. Gari kikunywa pesa kidogo, utapata mshahara. Kikunywa pesa mingi, hakuna mshahara. Venye bado fare iko saizi, bado wanateta. So tungeomba serikali tupunguzie mafuta, ndio tuweze kuendelea na biashara vile iko kwa saizi. Mimi naweza muomba, naweza mshukuru kwanza venye aliturudishia capacity. Saa bado hatuconsider hiyo upande wa mafuta. Ataangalia nayo huko apunguze kitu.
Kwa majina naitwa Livingstone Polycarp na mimi mkazi wa Nairobi, Dagoretti. Nafanya kazi kama dereva. Kwanza mimi naweza sema yenyewe hiyo ni pigo kubwa sana kwanza kwa hii sekta yetu ya matatu. First of all, we consider kwanza saa hizi venye tuko na hii inflation ya corona, kuna pandemic. Alafu tumekaziwa sana when it comes to income yetu. Na bado ukiangalia economy sasa imefinyika mahali pengine sasa hizi ni hand to mouth. Sasa hakuna kitu unabaki nayo. Na bado kafi ndio hiyo inaendeleza. Rais wetu mwenyewe ametukazia hivyo tu. Hatujui nini hatujui tunaweza fanya saa hizi. Shule nazo ndio hizo bado zinakimbiza hii maneno ya CBC bado inakimbiza wazazi. Mimi chenye naweza sema venye vitu vinaendelea yenyewe it's hard and tough. Na naweza omba tu rais wetu tu wa Kenya atusikize kwa tumefika saa hizi. Tumefika mwisho. Sekta ya mafuta mimi naweza waambia tafadhali pia waangalie kuna hata watu wa boda hapo chini. Sisi sekta ya matatu sasa itabidi mwananchi wa kawaida ndiye ataumia. You have to dig down yuko ndani kwa mifuko yenu ndio muweze kulipa pia kwa sababu hata sisi wakati wa matatu tunafanya tu kazi, tunaamka tu asubuhi. Na huwezi niambia nitaamka asubuhi naenda nyumbani bila mshahara. So wewe kama mwananchi wa kawaida unajua unatumia means za transport. Fake haikusilalamike pia. So as far as tunalalamika pia sisi hata serikali basi haitusikizi. So wakifinya pale na sisi tunafinyana hapo pengine.
Now, switching gears, the Kenya Anti-Corruption Agency has launched an investigation on the Kenya Seed Company tender to Syngenta East Africa Limited. Now, the procurement, which is worth 145 million, is alleged to have several irregularities that are now raising eyebrows. The board of directors have been summoned by the anti-graft body due to the irregularities in the supply of the seed treatment chemical to Syngenta East Africa Limited. Our reporter Brenda Mashumbe has more on that.
Former Kenya Seed Board members are now in fresh trouble as the Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission has launched a new investigation into 104.5 million tender to Syngenta East Africa Limited. In a letter to the Kenya Seed Company, the EACC is questioning the payment of 145 million to Syngenta East Africa Limited for seed treatment chemical. The board has been asked to provide original documents of the tender, the contract agreement for supply and delivery of insecticides for the Kenya seed maize treatment on direct procurement between the two companies. Dr. Sam Wilkista Simiyu, Nathan Anaswa, Simon Krigoni, Dr. Johnson Irungu Waithaka, Abraham Koech, Peter Waweru, Dr. Winnie Masharia, Lawrence Njiru, and Richard Ayabei are set to meet the EAC detectives at North Rift Regional Office in Eldoret today and tomorrow. The firm has faced several boardroom wars and administrative issues in the recent past. Early this year, Agriculture Cabinet Secretary Peter Munya, in a special gazette, appointed Francis Okwara as the new board chairperson and revoked the appointments of Dr. Samson Chelule, Elsbeth Neuku, and Muchohi Ruiru. However, Dr. Tam, a private shareholder of the seed farm and other chemicals, moved to court to challenge the appointment of the new board members. However, Dr. Tam, a private shareholder of the seed farm, and other officials moved to court to challenge the appointments of the new board members. He went on to summon an annual shareholders meeting with the intentions of appointing new directors, hiring a chief executive, and declaring dividends for the past 6 years. Mr. Tam was controversially removed as CEO in 2003 following revelations that he had irregularly transferred ownership of the farm to the family of former President Daniel Arap Moi. The battle for control of Kenya's seed has been in and out of court for years. Brenda Moshumbe, Lookup TV, Nairobi.
Now that story by Brenda Moshumbe brings us to our first break here, but I'd like to take just one comment on fuel prices. Somebody say, are we ready now perhaps to have long, hard, wise conversations on how turning this country around? There is really no space at all for empty promises or tribalism or friendism. None. Hashtag fuel prices. We take that short break. We'll be back with more news here on Trending News.
Grow your business, broadcast your sermon, share birthday wishes, make funeral announcements, produce adverts and documentaries, then book and advertise with us today by calling us on +254 700 893 542 700 893 542 or email us on sales@luke-up.tv.
The future of money is simple, like unlocking possibilities with a smile and having the world in the palm of your hand. It's the ability to touch many lives at the same time and turn your dreams into reality. It's forgetting and still remembering. Simple is having everything that you love in one place. From the ticket to your next meal, to your ticket to the next holiday. It's an easy way to ask for a boost when you're low. And keeping track of everything on the go. The future of money is simple, and it's here. Download the new M-Pesa app today.
Please make those payments and take dinner out the freezer. Enjoy your day off.
Hey.
How was your day?
Great.
Did you pay the bills?
Abby did it.
And the plumber?
Abby did it.
Send money to your mom?
Abby did it.
Who's Abby?
Bank on WhatsApp with Abby, your 24/7 digital personal banker. Another digital innovation that gets things done. That's Africanacity. That's ABSA.
Did you take dinner out the freezer?
Welcome to Lookup Guest House, Retreat and Prayer Center. When you first come in, we will be happy to receive you at our reception, then proceed to our cozy and well-equipped accommodation facilities. We aim to provide our guests with a unique, comfortable, and worthwhile experience. Here at Lookup Guest House, we provide our guests with a continuous supply of room amenities. A cool environment for all your retreat activities.
Lookup Guest House, Retreat and Prayer Center. For reservation, contact us on info@lookupguesthouse.org or call us on 0746 788 707. Like, follow, subscribe, click the notification button. Join the Lookup TV movement now.
Now, thank you so much for staying with us here on Trending News. Remember, you can also get in touch with us on our social media handles. At Amoy Brand on Twitter, at LookUpTV. We are also live on Facebook, or send us an SMS on 20374. Now, let's continue with this bulletin. Now, mango production in Kenya is looking at an export green light after an MOU agreed upon by Pakistan, and Kenya is said to be ready for approval. Now, Kenya could then make its maiden mango export to Pakistan in about 2 weeks as Nairobi races to endorse the trade deal between the two countries. Now, this will then open the gates for shipment. We have that and much more on this business roundup. Kenya could make its maiden mango exports to Pakistan in about a fortnight as Nairobi races to endorse a long-delayed trade deal between the two countries. Managing Director of Kenya Plant Health Inspectorate Service, Mr. Theophilus Mutui, said a memorandum of understanding agreed upon by the two countries on mango trade is ready for approval. Shipments to Pakistan will offer a reprieve to mango farmers who have been grappling with limited market access for the fruit, especially after exports to the UK were stopped nearly a decade ago. Kenya's mangoes have been restricted from accessing the European market due to high cases of the fruit flies. Pakistan's High Commissioner to Kenya, Sieda, said Pakistan only produces these fruits 3 months a year, hence creating a high demand for the mango in the off-season. The High Commissioner said the two MOUs on plant protection that started in 2016 on mango and citrus exports to Pakistan were finalized and are ready for signing if Kenya's Ministry of Agriculture is in concurrence with it. Pakistan and Kenya are strengthening their trade relations, and just last week, Islamabad removed a 0.5% levy that it has been charging on all the tea exports destined to this Asian state. Elsewhere, matatus operating inside the Nairobi Central District face higher parking fees following the resumption of full capacity operations last month. In a notice, the Nairobi City County Government and the Kenya Revenue Authority say they will reinstate normal parking fees for the public service vehicles from Saturday next week. The City County Government had previously discounted the parking charges on the request of matatu stakeholders following the limitation of the PSV's carrying capacity to no more than 60% per vehicle. From September 25th, 14-seater matatus will pay a monthly fee of 5,000 and 3,650 as parking charges, covering the 6th of the 24th day of the month and the 25th of the 5th day of the month, respectively. Meanwhile, minibuses will pay between 8,000 and 5,280 as parking fees covering a similar period, while buses will pay between 10,000 and 7,200. The parking fees for PSVs had been discounted as a factor of carrying capacity, which has been traditionally deployed to determine the parking rates. On the corporate scene, T1 lenders grew their lending to the government by 132.8 billion in the 12th month of June 2021, continuing a preference for the risk-free securities that are paying as much interest as customer loans. It is reported that banks continue to shun small-scale businesses, disbursing only 294.4 million since the government launched a 3 billion loan guarantee. Parliament Budget Office said banks selected under the scheme loaned out the paltry sum between October last year and April 2021. The government sought to reassure banks by offering to cover for defaults, but lenders are still rejecting loan application by small and medium enterprises, as default rates remain elevated at 14% of their total loan book. Over 90% of the private sector constitutes micro, small and medium enterprises. However, the proportion of the MSME's loan portfolio to the total banking sector loan book stands at 20.9%. As of December 2020, the Kenya banking sector gross loans and advances accounted for 3.1 trillion, with only 638.3 billion for small businesses. The CBK study showed that banks turned away 28% of small businesses, while microfinanciers declined 96% of the loan application made to them. Brian Amuai, Lookup TV, Nairobi. Now, switching gears, Catholic bishops have offered to mediate talks between President Uhuru Kenyatta and Deputy President William Ruto as the two headers increasingly drift apart, shunning joint public appearances. Now, Ruto has been missing in key government meetings, including the recently bilateral meeting between Kenya and Estonia at State House, Nairobi, where President Kenyatta was joined by several cabinet secretaries for official talks with President Katsi Kajulaid. Now, Archbishops Anthony Muheiria and Philip Anyolo have stated that it is important that there should be unity among the top leaders so as to promote peace and unity in the country.
Archbishop Anthony Muheria and Philip Anyolo said that it is important that there should be unity among the top leaders so as to promote peace in the country. This comes days after politicians in Kenya being cautioned against using church premises, including the pulpit, for their political campaigns. Anthony Muheria also said that the ban on political campaigns in churches was issued last month by the chairman of the Kenya Conference of Catholic Bishops, KCCB. Kenya Conference of Catholic and Anglican Bishops said that the politicians have a place to attend and pray, but have no space to speak politics in the churches. The Anglican leaders also added that politicians should not expect special treatment when they take part in liturgical celebrations. They also addressed all politicians in Kenya to attend churches, speak to their God, and live peacefully. The church leaders, and mostly Catholics and Anglican leaders, are now on the front line to campaign against politics in churches. They also requested the top leaders, Uhuru Kenyatta and his deputy William Ruto, to promote unity in the country after Ruto missed key government meetings. Irene Mwangi, Look Up TV, Nairobi.
Now, switching gears, lack of collateral and physical referencing has been identified as the main reason why young people struggle to secure government funds for their enterprises, therefore easily engaging in terrorist activities and violent extremism. In efforts to remedy this impending danger, the government has said it is equipping youth empowerment centers across the country with ICT equipment to help in registering their businesses. Calvin Kodalo with that story.
The government has identified lack of collateral and physical references as two of the key impediments behind why young people find it difficult to access affirmative action funds targeted at them.
Youth also lack assets that would act as collateral in accessing loans and other forms of credit. And I know that it is probably one of the key subjects that will be addressed today on how can we improve the ease of accessing these credit facilities. I just want to say one of the things the ministry currently is doing is that there is a requirement often for the youth to give references as to where their businesses are located. And to say that the ministry we are revamping or renovating all the 155 youth empowerment centers across the country, equip them with ICT equipment, so that the youth in every area are registered, their businesses are registered there, and the youth centers become their point of reference as their office address. That will make them at least keep that particular requirement.
Speaking at a forum on mitigation of violent extremism among the youth, Permanent Secretary for Youth Affairs at the Ministry for ICT and Youth Affairs, Charles Nkuli, has identified the lack of assets for collateral and physical references as major impediments behind access to credit for the youth. As part of addressing these problems, the government is equipping youth empowerment centers across the country with ICT equipment that young people can use to register their businesses. The youth centers will also be used as physical addresses when the young people are applying for loans, such as those provided by the government under various affirmative action funds for youth, women, and persons with disabilities. In the current financial year, the national government has set aside 4.2 billion Kenya shillings for the Kenya Youth Empowerment and Opportunities Project, 454.1 million Kenya shillings for the Youth Enterprise Development Fund, 120 million Kenya shillings for the Women Enterprise Fund, and 62 million for the Youth Employment and Enterprise Fund. The funds, which have been set aside to empower businesses owned by youth, women, and persons living with disabilities, were increased in this year's budget to address the challenge of unemployment, which has been exacerbated by the COVID-19 pandemic. Access to the funds is a critical issue that is also seen as a strategy to combat youth radicalization. According to County Governance Watch Kenya, an NGO that provides a linkage between social welfare and the government, lack of employment and opportunities leads young people to be easily exploited into violent extremism. The organization insists that young people remain vulnerable to violent extremism, and equal access to affirmative funds across the country is important to remedy that threat. Furthermore, ahead of the upcoming election, access to the funds is seen as an important safeguard so that youth are not exploited by politicians. Calvin Kodalo, Look Up TV, Nairobi.
Now on to a story that is about marking this day. Now today, Kenya joins the world in celebrating the International Day for Democracy. Democracy, which is a fair representation of all people in government, has faced enormous ups and downs in Kenya, and it continues to grow close to 60 years after independence. On this remarkable day, Waris Kimathi looks at the major steps made in Kenya's democratic journey.
According to veteran American politician and President Abraham Lincoln, democracy involves government of the people, by the people, and for the people. Theoretically, Kenya's journey of democracy has involved the people electing visionary leaders who will lead them and represent their greatest needs, hopes, and sentiments, as well as driving positive change and development. This spirit of democracy is what many have ridden on since the British Union Jack was hoisted in 1963 to signify an end to colonialism and the birth of a bright new era of self-rule. Since then, Kenyans have on multiple occasions woken up early to vote for their preferred candidates. In comparison to its immediate neighbors, Kenya's state of democracy has often been praised as free and fair. However, when compared to other developed and advanced democracies such as United States, the country still lags behind in giving the power of government back to its 45 million people. The first change of guard in Kenya's elective leadership took place in 1978, when the country's first president passed on and passed the reins of power to his vice president, Daniel Moi. Moi was a devout Christian from Baringo with vast political experience, started by silencing all dissents and opposition to his role immediately he took office of the president. Right from the beginning of Moi's reign as president, social activists, journalists, and lawyers who dared speak or act against the government were tortured, disappeared, and even found dead in unexplained situations. Moi's presidency was termed as dictatorial and intolerant of differing voices, an exclusion that stood in stark contrast to the dreams of democracy and equal opportunities for all that had been advertised at independence. Widespread dissatisfaction with the KANU government under President Moi led to the 1982 coup attempt that was executed by a section of soldiers from the armed forces. The attempt to remove Moi from power was led by a senior officer in the Kenya Air Forces known as Hezekiah Ochuka, who took over government before he and his compatriots were overcome and later hanged for treason by the Moi administration. After the coup, Moi's clampdown on opposition intensified as an atmosphere of fear engulfed the young democracy. Those brave enough to speak continued to be tortured and maimed or even disappeared altogether. In the same year that Ochuka staged his coup, Moi amended the constitution and introduced a single-party system, banning all political parties in the country that were not his ruling KANU party. The removal of multi-party politics set the country's democracy strides back to the beginning, and the state of government of the people by the people was reduced to one single leader and his subordinates making all the decisions, big and small, for the entire nation. 5 years after the 1982 constitution changes, very few Kenyans dared speak against the misdoings of the Moi regime, but still the president made another constitution amendment that allowed him to fire and hire judges and civil servants at will. Although the changes were reverted in the later years, this set precedents that has seen Kenyan presidents wield significant power and influence over other arms of government and agencies. The state of democratic power being held by a few individuals has led to endemic problems such as land injustices, tribal politics, and systemic corruption. In the 24 years that Moi was president, corruption took roots within Kenya's systems of government, and a sense of exclusion dominated the majority of Kenya's 43 tribes. Since the 1970s through to the end of Moi's era, Kenya's elections were termed as shambolic and unfair, with the incumbent and his preferred candidates always winning against the disempowered opposition. In the early years before secret ballots, when voters were required to line up behind their preferred candidates, many never dared to queue behind opposition candidates in fear of retributions from KANU candidates and their foot soldiers. This practice led to good visionary leaders losing elections to those who were endorsed and preferred by Moi's ruling KANU party. However, by 1991, international players mounted pressure on President Moi, asking him to restore multi-party elections in Kenya through a constitutional amendment. However, when the elections were held in 1992 and 1997, they were marred by widespread irregularities that led to Moi being declared winner in both elections. The reintroduction of multi-party politics reignited an old flame of democratic hope in the hearts of many Kenyans, and those hungry for a change waited with bated breath as Moi did his last term in office after the 1997 elections. Since President Moi Kibaki replaced Moi in 2003, big leaps have been made in the country's journey towards absolute democracy and rule of law. The 2010 constitution was lauded the world over as one that would steer Kenya to new heights of democracy and socio-economic prosperity. Many Kenyans feel that devolution has brought with it great benefits, including work opportunities and a more accountable and accessible government. The perks of the growing democracy have been revealed time and again through acts of judiciary such as the nullification of the 2017 presidential elections by Chief Justice Maraga and the most recent halting of the BBI process by the Supreme Court. Waris Kimathi, Look Up TV, Nairobi.
Thank you, Waris Kimathi, for that detailed report. That story brings us to the end of our bulletin today. But before we do that, let me just take this one feedback from someone watching. Ocheng Sylvian says, when it comes to matters of democracy, as a country, I think we aren't there yet. As Kenyan citizens, we should speak out where we see wrong or inequality or injustice, because this is our country. This is our democracy. We make it, protect it, and pass it on. That does it for us here. I'd like to thank everybody that has made this bulletin a success, from my director Paul in the control room to my camera people and every reporter that has contributed to this bulletin. I want to say thank you on behalf of them to you, the viewer, and also thank you to you for watching. My name is Brian Amuai. Have yourselves a lovely evening.
We value your feedback and welcome your complaints about our programming and operations. Feel free to get in touch with us through 0700 893 542 or send us an email to views@look-up.tv. We can't wait to hear from you. Want to grow your business? Broadcast your sermon, share birthday wishes, make funeral announcements, produce adverts and documentaries? Then book and advertise with us today by calling us on +254 700 893 542
700 893 542
or email us on sales@look-up.tv.
The future of money is simple, like unlocking possibilities with a smile and having the world in the palm of your hand. It's the ability to touch many lives at the same time and turn your dreams into reality. It's forgetting and still remembering. Simple is having everything that you love in one place. From the ticket to your next meal, to your ticket to the next holiday. It's an easy way to ask for a boost when you're low. And keeping track of everything on the go. The future of money is simple, and it's here. Download the new M-Pesa app today.